Athenaze 1 Alpha Grammar Screencast. In this screencast, we'll be comparing and contrasting Greek nouns with Latin ones, as well as looking at the same rules that apply from Latin subject, equational, and object phrase to that of Greek, as well as looking at the in plus ablative versus the n plus dative place phrase. How do we know what word in a sentence is a noun? It really is in English having to figure out what the word means first of all. How do you know that boy is a noun while it's not a verb? Well, Greek is thankfully a lot easier, same as Latin. Now, the first declension nouns in Greek are similar to the first declension nouns in Latin, except that there are two first declensions, alpha endings and eta endings. But as you can see, the nominatives end in a. The accusative, instead of ending in am, ends in thalatan, gnomein. There is no ablative in Greek, but the dative is very similar. So why gnome, thalate? While the genitive, thalates, gnomes. In looking at the plural nominative, we see here the I, the as, the ice, and the on. So here you see a similarity, or you hear a similarity. Thalata, thalatan, thalate, thalates, thalatai, thalatas, thalatais, thalaton. Gnome, gnomein, gnome. Gnomes, gnomai, gnomas. Gnomais, gnomon. Versus sowa, sowam, sowai, sowa, sowai, sowai, sowas, sowi, sowi, sowarum. You do see that similarity. Notice the dative has this iota subscript underneath. It doesn't change how it's pronounced. It just tells you that it is the dative. Now for the second declension nouns, as you can see, os endings, very straightforward. Reading down. Anthropos, anthropon, anthropo, anthropou, anthropoi, anthropous, anthropois, anthropon. How similar is that to hortus, hortum, horto, horti, horti, hortos, hortis, hortorum. Ergon, bellum, ergon, bellum, ergo, bello, ergu, belli, erga, bella, erga, bella, ergois, bellis, ergon, bellorum. As you can see, the Greek noun declensions look so similar and sound so similar to the Latin. What about the third declension? Well, as always, you have the neuter rule. You have a nice chunk where it ends in a E. Gnaiki, consoli, pragmati, tempori. Gnaikos, consolis, pragmatos, temporis. Gnaikes, consoles. Gnaikas, consoles. Gnaixin, consolibus. Gnaikon, consolom. Versus pragmata, pragmata, tempora, tempora. So, straight down. Gune, gunaika, gunaiki, gunaikos. Gunaikes, gunaikas, gunaixin, gunaikon. Pragma, pragma, pragmati, pragmatos, pragmata, pragmata, pragmas, and pragmaton. Notice the third declension has a radical stem change in Latin as well as in Greek. How can you tell what noun declension you're dealing with? Well, you have to look at the nominative ending and then the genitive. So, will they follow first alpha, first eta, second neuter, or third? Agros ends in os, second declension noun. Anthropos ends in os, second declension noun. Aturgos, second declension noun. How about heorte? First eta. Hokoros, second declension noun. Angelos, os ending, second declension noun. On air. Well, it doesn't end in a, air, os, or on, so it must be third declension. Notice it has that stem change. There's the accusative. Hoponos ends in os, it's a second declension noun. He krene, a second declension noun. Hai kairos, ho karos, os ending, second declension noun. He gune, I think it's an eta, But look, it's got a stem change. That tells you it's a third declension. Hey hudria, first alpha. Hey mater, no ending that I've seen before, must be third. Now, same idea. What is it going to be? Hey hudria, first declension alpha. Ho angolos, second declension omicron. To aratron, second declension neuter. So all nouns in Greek, just like in Latin, will follow these declension families. Basic phrases you should have known. What's a subject phrase? It's what does the action. Object phrase, it's what receives the action. And prepositional phrase is a preposition before a noun. So there's your verbs, there's your subjects, there's your objects. In Greek, we start with the verb. Instead of ending in T, Greek verbs end in third singular in A. Haide, lifts. Lifts. Who's doing the lifting? Who's your subject? Ho aturgos, nominative, subject phrase. The farmer. Farmer lifts what? Accusative. Object phrase, the stone. So the lifting is being done by the farmer to the stone. In English, we have to signify subject, verb, object. In Latin, you could do it that way, but you don't have to, just like in Greek. So you could have subject, verb, object. You could have object, subject, verb. You could have object, verb, subject. You could have verb, object, subject. Now for the equational phrase. When you have the verb is, it will balance two nominatives, subject and equational. What's the difference? In Greek, the equational phrase generally doesn't have this little thing called the definite article. So the farmer is makros, large. Remember, equational phrases in English have to be balanced. The farmer is Athenian. How atorgos estin Athenaeos, but it doesn't require that. In Greek, word order doesn't mean anything. Notice these rough breathing marks. All vowels, initial vowels, have to have a breathing, rough or smooth. Ho is a breathing. Notice the accent goes this way. Athenaeos, smooth breathing. The accent goes the other. Your phones, most of the Android phones, do not allow these breathing marks. Therefore, if it doesn't have a breathing, there won't be one. If it does, it'll have a mark in front of it. Now, Latin has the in plus ablative praise phrase. The farmer walks in the field. Greek doesn't have, there's your subject. Greek doesn't have an ablative. It uses the dative in the place of an ablative. So N plus dative place phrase, in the field. And we see here the lion and the farmer is where? He's in the lion. Oh, poor farmer. So, beautiful, it is beautiful in the, what's the intake again? The dative. Here you see quia. You can't form a iota subscript, so I make these marks right here. That tells you that that's a iota subscript, and that's the sign of the dative. Well, that's everything you need to know. Make sure you have your IQAD questions written down, highlight, and notes. And I'll see you in class tomorrow. Until that time, aloha.